needs Kathy's expertise. And so I reached out to her and she graciously said yes. And as a former PWA member, I was really excited. I didn't realize she had been in PWA before too. So this is kind of a welcome back instead of a welcome to Kathy. But I do want to share a little bit with you about her. Kathy Sexton is a productivity and profit specialist, speaker, author, TV host, and coach. She does it all. Okay, let's just put it like that. Kathy, another Wonder Woman here that we have. She works with highly driven, overworked, underpaid, I love this word, stressedpreneurs and individuals to I.G.N.I.T.E to ignite productivity, increase profits, and accelerate results. Anybody need any of that besides me? Can I get a witness? Anybody out there? Hello? Anyone need that? Okay, God knows I do. Kathy uses her passion and empathetic nature to help people live healthy, productive lives. She is a sweetheart too, just so you know. Why? Because she knows the health risks that are of being overworked. She lived it and paid a very high price for living that lifestyle. As a result, Kathy is committed to helping others reduce stress by gaining clarity and focus so they get more done in fewer hours and make more money. Oh, I'm sorry. I'm having my own little moment over here. So, with that, let's get productive and profitable with Kathy Sexton. So, Kathy, thank you so much for joining us. I'm going to shut up now and I'm going to let you take over.
Okay, well, thank you very much. I'll get my screen going here. And interesting enough, Bernie, I was planning on rejoining. So, hopefully you'll see me more this year. So the first thing I want to ask is have everybody to turn on their cameras, because we're going to play a little game in a minute. And so productivity isn't everything in life, but it really does affect everything. Surveys have shown that 45% of employees say that their workloads are constantly increasing, and 75% of workers feel overstressed. So when I look at productivity, it does affect everything. And the way to measure our ROI of our productivity is through your time, money, and energy. So those are the ways that you can do that. So I'm gonna stop right here so that I can see everybody as we do this. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna play a little game for a second. And I want everybody currently to turn off their camera, and then when I'm going to bring up different topics, and if they're an issue for you or you'd like to improve them, just flash your camera back on so we can see where everybody's at in this room. Okay, so everybody turn off the cameras, and then I'll leave mine on. Okay, so first, are you struggling from working from home? Let me stop this okay, so we can see everybody. Okay, definitely have a few of us struggling from working from home. Okay, what about time management? Turn your camera on if that's an issue for you. Okay, quite a few. What about email? You've struggled with being overwhelmed with email? Turn on your cameras. Okay, all right, and turn back off. What about staying, I'll let everybody turn theirs off. What about staying focused? If that's an issue, turn your camera on. Okay, all right, everybody turn cameras back off. How about meetings? Yeah, that one gets a lot of people. That's a problem, especially in organizations. And then what about being organized? Is that an issue for anybody? Okay, and then and then interruptions. Okay, I think we almost have everybody on that one. So just kind of wanted to just play a little game, just get everybody kind of a little connected here, and we will go get on with our show here. You know, in the United States alone, 2.4 million deaths each year from heart attacks. 75% of those deaths are from causes that are within our control. 75% of all doctor's visits are stress related. Stress in the workplace causes thousands of stress related illnesses every single day. And to make matters worse, many people who do have heart attacks do not always have a history of heart disease. So just a little bit about my story. So I was in the corporate world. Basically at that time, I was a workaholic. I call myself a reforming workaholic at this point. And I was basically having health issues. You know, things were kind of minor, but it just seemed to be all of a sudden I was just having these different things happening. And during the process of all of that with the doctors and stuff, through one of the tests, they found out that, and I was diagnosed with a life-threatening disease that is brought on and induced by stress. And it affects your heart and it affects your eyesight. And that was a really big wake-up call for me to really realize that I needed to look at how I was doing things differently. And that's really truly why I'm so passionate about helping other people. I just don't want others to go down that same road. And it's so much of our culture is about how hard you can work. And I want people to think about it differently because they don't have to work as hard as they can work smarter and not harder. So today we're going to talk about the 6 keys to ignite your productivity. And the first one is inner insight, getting organized, natural productivity style, interruptions, taking action, and evaluation. So what is the greatest productivity tool? So type in the chat if anybody knows what the greatest productivity tool is. And all of a sudden, now I can't find my chat. I don't know where it went. There it is. Okay. Well, I still can't see it. It says it's on, but I don't see it. Julie, can you read off maybe if anybody is putting comments in for me?
Sure. So a to-do list, an excellent CRM, your goal and key steps to achieve it, yourself, turning off email, calendar, time off.
Okay. So the greatest productivity tool is our mind. When you think about your mind, think of it and let's compare it to an iceberg. So first, let's just talk about the groundwork here. So there are 2 types of beliefs. There are empowering beliefs and there are limiting beliefs. And neither are true. Beliefs are just beliefs. And some beliefs empower us while others will limit us to what we can get accomplished. And for a general rule of thumb, empowering beliefs feel light and free and exciting, and limiting beliefs feel heavy, tight, and they could even cause sadness. So I want to compare our mind to an iceberg because it really is a lot of the same. So 10% of our mind is conscious. So those are the decisions we make by choice. Think about your conscious choices, you know, what time are you going to get up in the morning? What are you going to wear? What are you going to have for breakfast? All those decisions that we make on a daily basis, those are conscious choices. But 90% is subconscious. So that's really saying no choice, and I'll explain a little bit more, but that's where a lot of times our self-limiting beliefs are lying. This is what drives our behaviors, is our subconscious, much more than our conscious mind does, because it's 90% of it. So as I said, conscious mind is, those actions we take every day. The subconscious choices are we act without making decisions to do so. Think about the routines that we do on a daily basis. You get up in your morning routine, you get up and you brush your teeth, or, you might have a certain type of ritual that you go through. Thinking about sitting at your desk and just automatically opening up email and starting that way without really intention, without really thinking about it. Toss something in the trash can under your desk, basically you just do it without even thinking. And if you think about it, if you've ever moved your room around and you put your trash can in a different spot and you go to throw it, the trash in there, you wind up having trash where your trash can used to be, because that's all subconscious. So there's so much, and that's why a lot of times we want something so bad, but we just can't seem to get there. And that a lot of time is because there's something underlying subconsciously that's stopping us in our tracks. So our mindset is really powerful. It is really a roadmap. You tell it where you want it to go, and that's what it's going to go. It's going to go that way. So it doesn't matter if it's positive or negative, and it will move us forward and it will stop us in our tracks. So our mindset is huge, and the subconscious part of it is something that we just need to become more aware of. So I call it head trash. But we all have some type of head trash, I can't do this, or I'm not good enough, or I don't know how to do that. I can't save money. Maybe I can't lose weight. Don't have time to exercise. One that was really startling for me that I realized, and this came about a couple years ago, really, I was working with a client and it triggered something for me, and I really thought about it. When I was in the 5th grade, now think about this, I was in the 5th grade. At the time, we didn't know that I had dyslexia, right? I was dyslexic. So we didn't really know that after, but I was in history class and my mom came to a PTA meeting, PTA meeting, and parent teachers conference, and came. And I remember her saying, I can visually see this. She was standing next to me and she said, it's so sad, Kathy will never become a teacher because, she fails history. Well, my mom didn't mean anything bad by that. She was really concerned because she knew that that's what I wanted to do. I wanted to be a teacher so badly. It's all I talked about doing is I'm going to grow up and be a teacher. And it, but going forward in my life, those words stuck with me. There were 3 different times that I went to enter college to start my education in education, basically, because I wanted to teach. And something always got in the way and something always stopped. Now I understand it was me who was stopping myself. But it could be something so simple as that, as somebody says something, but deep down you believe it. And that becomes part of your subconscious and those limiting beliefs. So until you can really recognize those, it's hard to get rid of them. So Julie, did you say we can do breakout sessions? Because I don't see a place to do them.
Hey, Julie. Yeah, we do breakout sessions at a number of our other events. I know we can.
Yeah. Okay. Well, so beliefs, as I said before, beliefs are not true or false. They're just beliefs. It's something we tell ourselves. It's something I used to have a thing on my monitor that said it's not true, I just made it up. Because we do, we make up stories in our head. You know, somebody is not speaking to us, so we think it's our fault. You know, we make up things. So beliefs are just beliefs. They're not true or they're not false. They're just beliefs. So Julie, there you are. Can we do a breakout session?
Sure, you want 3 per room?
Yeah, that'll be great. So what I want you to do is we're going to do a brief, just share if you want, you know, something that where you might think you could adjust your mindset, some area that you might be aware that you need to adjust. So let's just do it for, put 3 in a room and just for 2 minutes and then we'll come back and talk about that.
Okay. There might actually be 4 per room.
That wasn't long enough.
So we'll just do a few comments. Is there anybody that has any comments or questions regarding our mindset?
Well, our group had 2 ends of the spectrum. One end was I'm not experienced enough, I'm not smart enough, that kind of confidence thing. And the other end of it is I'm too experienced. I'm given more than I'm getting here.
Interesting, interesting. Anyone else?
I'll go. We
go-
started, we ran out of time, but right at the end, one of our breakout room members was talking about how there's a challenge with actually selling in her business, you know, the selling aspect of it. And then, you know, I thought, yeah, you know, for those of us who are in business, we probably run into some of that from time to time, but I think that's definitely, it's a mindset thing that I think a lot of entrepreneurs have to address.
Oh, definitely. I would have to agree with that very much. So. I would also want to remind everybody that if there's any questions that you have, periodically I'll ask for questions, but we'll also have a short time at the very end for any questions. So we spend 6 weeks a year just looking for things, and it doesn't include other people trying to help us find them. So being organized does make a big difference in our productivity. You know, we think of clutter, we generally think of physical clutter, but there are other types of clutter, like digital, social, financial, and mental. So we have all those different types of clutter. You could be affected by all of them, one of them, none of them, but a lot of times we just think that there's physical clutter, but we have clutter in a lot of different areas of our life. So
Kathy,
let's
do you want to share your screen?
Oh, I'm sorry.
That's okay.
Yep. I forgot I stopped doing that. And where did it go? Oh, it says I'm sharing. Oh, here we go.
You gotta love technology.
Oh, I know. And I do this so much that it, you know, it's supposed to be really easy, but it doesn't always get that way.
No.
So yeah, so we have, can everybody see my screen now?
Nope.
Nope,
No?
not yet.
Oh, here we go.
Oh, it's coming up now, Kathy.
Okay, great.
We got it.
All right. Okay. So yeah, so we think of clutter, there's, you know, all 5 of these different ways that we can be affected by clutter. So let's talk about the physical clutter, because that's what we all are most used to and have the most of, I think. So let me ask you the question. When it comes to paper, have you heard this saying, only handle it once? I know I've heard that a lot. But that is only true for toilet paper, paper towels, those type of things. It's very hard for us to really only handle a piece of paper once unless we get the mail and we drop it in the trash can, right? That's the only way you can just handle it just one time. But there are some questions you can ask yourself. So there are 4 basic questions that you can ask to help you make decisions, because it's really about the decision and not how many times you're handling it. So the first one is, what information do I really need to keep? Is this something I really need to keep? What form do I need to keep it in? For how long do I need to keep it? And how can you find when you need it? That's really the big one, right? Research shows that 80% of what we keep, we never use the second time. And to make, you know, so think about making today's mail will turn into tomorrow's piles, right? Because if we don't deal with it, because there's usually action or we need to identify the use of it, it's just really a process that we have to create a process to kind of move forward. So, well, let's talk about what we can do. And I think there's 5 decisions that we can look at. First one is discard. And this is really the most difficult that I have found for most people. What about if I need it later? You know, I might need that sometime, right? And with things being so digital, I mean, and it's so much easier to find things. Also, when we store things, as I said before, 80% of the time, we don't ever look at it a second time. So we're keeping stuff that takes a lot of space up for no reason. And another thing is, you'll find it very freeing once you start making that decision to start eliminating some things from your life. You'll find that it's very freeing and you'll want to do more of it. So the second is delegate. So if you can't discard it, right, you need to think about, can I delegate it, right? The thing about delegating is you need to make sure that the person you're delegating to understands what the end result really needs to look at. So think about a puzzle, a jigsaw puzzle. If I gave you a puzzle and did not give you the top of the box, for some people that they get anxious and not want it. I mean, there are a few people that would be challenged, but for the majority of us, we're going to go, oh, I don't want to do this, because we don't know what we're working towards. And that's the biggest problem with delegation, is if the person doesn't really understand the goal. So the best thing you can do is prepare ahead of time, clearly define the task to be completed, and be specific and ask them to repeat it back to you. Because what we say out of our mouth is not always what we're thinking in our head. And what we say, other people interpret different ways. So it's really important that you have them repeat it back to you when you're delegating, especially something new. Have a timeline, a time frame, even if it needs to be adjusted later on. Always give a time frame. When I had employees working for me, I would just say, oh, when you get done, when you have time, do this. 3 days later, I'm wondering why it's not done. Well, other things are priorities, because I said, when you have time, and she never had time. So I learned that real fast. Identify maybe checkpoints if it's a big project. And then, especially on big projects or new projects, something really new, hold a debriefing session and really talk about what could have been improved or what was learned in the process. So if you can't delegate it, you can't delete it, delegate it, do it. So if it's only going to take you 2 minutes or less, do it. Keep the, those short tasks from building up and creating more clutter or in a pile, or just more clutter in your head. And then the fourth is defer for filing. So think about, again, when I said that 80%, but when we need something, if we can't find it, it's lost its value. It doesn't have any value. So make sure you have a filing system that works, digital or physically, or both, so that you can find it when you need it. Or if you're in an office, and sharing that so someone else can find it. And then lastly, the fifth is define your action. So when does it need to be done? How long is it going to take you? What's the next action that needs to happen? And does it need to go on my calendar? So it's really important that we know when it's due, how long it's going to take us, and what is that next action, and then put it on your calendar. And then we have some other organizing tips. So if you're going to organize something, so think about your basement or your garage. I think those are big elephants for all of us. And we say, okay, we're going to clean the basement today. And then we go down there and then we start working on it. And then either we get overwhelmed and we say, I'll do this another day. Or we might start working, and then the phone rings, and then you go into another room, and then you see something else you have to do, and then you start doing that, and then the kids or the phone rings, and and nothing gets done, right? Or very little. So consider just a small area. Don't overcommit. It's better just to create a small area. And back to the mindset, when I said earlier about the subconscious, but if we tell ourselves, okay, I'm going to clean the basement or the garage, and you don't do it, that becomes heavy for us. It becomes negative feelings for us because we didn't do what we said we were going to do. So it's really important. I'm going to clean off this shelf, or clean out a drawer or a corner or something like that, or square out our desk or this pile. Do that. And then it becomes that positive feeling because you accomplished what you said you were going to accomplish, and you're not fighting with yourself. So when you want to clear your desk, easy way to do this, gather everything in one pile. And I know that's scary for some, but gather it all together in one pile. And then you're going to process it, basically sort it. You're going to basically start asking you those questions. So can I, you have a pile, can I discard it? Can I delegate it? Can I just do it in 2 minutes or less and get it off my plate? No further action. Can I just define it for filing? Just gets filed in a cabinet electronically or paper-wise. And then the last one is you're going to define the action or a place for those action items. So by asking yourself those questions, that's when handling piece of paper really makes sense, is asking yourself those questions. So we're going to do another breakout room just for another couple minutes, Julie. So again, 3 or 4 people in a room for 2 minutes. And which type of clutter affects you most?
Or give each person at least a minute.
Oh, we're just trying to get through so much, but I wanted to make it a little interactive for us tonight. So maybe we can find out, we can do a little bit longer on the next. I think we have another one. So is there any comments, something that was major that you want to share?
Our group was pretty consistent that mental clutter was, if not the biggest issue, one of the biggest issues.
Okay, interesting. Interesting. Yeah, we had digital and physical in the room that I was in. So
Yeah, I said digital for social media because I get too overwhelmed with all the stuff that people want to do and share and all that. And it really doesn't yield a lot of business for me. It's just busy work.
right.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's go ahead and we'll move on. And you can all see my screen, right?
Nope.
No, you can't.
Not yet.
Okay, here we go. Okay, you can see it now?
Yes.
Okay, great. Yeah, when you start doing the rooms and stuff, it affects things. So the next one is our natural productivity style. And that is when we work naturally and authentically, it really does reduce a lot of stress. We can work better, we can work smarter when we're working in our natural productivity style. So when you're working naturally, it's not about what you should do, it's about what you will do. Because anything we should do, we're probably not going to do long term. But if we find a way to do it that we will do it, it's going to become more of a habit for us. So it's not about what somebody else wants you to do. It's really about understanding yourself and being okay with just being you and handling it that way. So it's around how we make decisions. And I'm just going to tell you on the 2 extremes, on the people can fall anywhere in between. So on a decision, and everybody's going to know this person who is very demanding, usually seems to want to push their power around. They make decisions fast. And as soon as they make the decisions, they want to know why it's not completed and done. And then on the very end of that is people who don't make decisions or take a long time. They need to contemplate. They need a lot of details. They need to really understand a lot more. And they're, really not comfortable with making decisions. So it might take them a little bit. It's about socially, how do we interact with other people? Are we an extrovert or are we an introvert? So, and again, like anywhere in between. And then standardization, are we that person who needs ABC, 1, 2, 3, we need processes? Or are we the type of person that, is chasing the next shiny thing? We're sporadic, we just, at the spare moment, okay, let's go do this, and just really free-forming things. So again, the very ends. And then details. So are you very detailed? Do you know those people who are black and white and there is no gray? So that's on the high end. And the low end, I don't really care about the details. I'm just, much more about the big picture and not so much about the details. So really understanding who you are and work naturally will reduce stress. And, it's like, when somebody's working, looking over your shoulder or watching how you're doing something, that just adds stress to us. So we want to make sure we're working naturally to make it easier for ourselves. So there's working naturally that I just talked about, or there's working adaptively. And that's when we're adapting to somebody else's direction, somebody else's information, somebody else's an environment that you're not used to. Think about when you had to go home for COVID and start working at home during all of this, and you didn't have a home office before, or maybe had a home office but didn't work there on a regular basis. I'm sure that you were working adaptively for a while, and that adds stress to us. So it's really about, are you being authentic? Are you being true to yourself? Because when you work adaptively, eventually that's when you're going to find burnout. You're going to be on, your stress levels are going to be really, really high. So really understanding who you are. So the question is, you know, are you working naturally? And at the very end, I'm going to give you a link on how you can go find out what your natural productivity style is. It's kind of a bonus I'm going to give you all tonight. So just put it in the chat. Can you change your, you know, sometimes people ask me, can you change your productivity style? But is there, just put any questions in the chat that you might have around productivity, your natural productivity style? And Julie, if you could just read those off if anybody, if anything comes in. So no questions or on that?
The only thing I have is that Alexis finds meditation that really helps with mental clutter. That was the
Okay.
last comment.
Yeah, definitely. Okay, so interruptions or distractions. I know that a lot of people's cameras came on when we talked about this earlier. So again, what are your distractions? You know, is it other people? Maybe it's phone calls, maybe it's email. I know a breakout room I was in, emails came up a couple of times when we talked about clutter, electronics, social media. You know, somebody even mentioned social media a while ago about getting wrapped up in that. Maybe it's yourself. You know, do you distract yourself, or you're the type of person that, you know, might have a little ADHD or gets, you interrupt yourself, get your thought patterns keep taking you into different directions. So think about, you know, what are those distractions that might affect you? So statistics show that we get interrupted every 7 minutes. Once interrupted on a project, you know, if you're really, think about those times where you're really in the zone. I call it a power zone, but when you're really in that zone, you're working on a project and you get interrupted. They say it takes her 17 to 20 minutes to get back to that same spot in our focus that we were when we got interrupted. So it's really about having a process to handle all those incoming items. That's really important for us to do. So we're going to do a little test here. So I want everybody to put their feet on the floor, and I want you to pick up your right foot and start making clockwise circles in it. I'm doing the same thing. So make clockwise circles. Everybody can handle that, right? Then I want you to pick up your index finger, your right index finger, and I also want you to make circles. So we're now being a little coordinated here, right? And then I want you to reverse your finger, but keep your foot going in the same, your foot's going right and your finger's going left. So yeah, got a few head shaking there. So that is just to show you that when we are trying to work on multiple things that take mental energy, we can't do that. We think we can, we try all the time, but the only time we can really multitask is when it's something that doesn't take brain power. So I might be making my dish that I make, you know, all the time. I don't even have a recipe. I just, you know, I know exactly what goes in, how to do it. I could do that and still have a conversation with somebody. But I can't have a conversation with somebody and try and work on an email. It just doesn't work. I remember when my daughter was away at college and I was trying to, it was right when I was starting my business, I think, and I was at home and I was doing emails, and she called, and all of a sudden she goes, "Mom, you're not even listening to me." And at that point, I really realized I wasn't, and I always made an effort from then forward to make sure I was really paying attention, because, you know, when your kids call, you know, come back from call from college, I wanted to be, you know, there for her for whatever she needed. So think about our thoughts. How many thoughts go through your head every single day? Does anybody have any idea? Put it in the chat. And I think I just, okay, I got the chat back up. Millions, 10 millions, 65,000, thousands. Well, Bernie, you're pretty close. They say it's 60,000 thoughts go in and out of our head every single day. So some of them are going to come and go right out. Some are going to come in and we wish we would have wrote them down. Some of them are going to come in and stay there, and we're going to constantly trying to remind ourselves to, you know, to remember, oh, I got to remember to do that. And we try and keep that all in our head. So we have a lot of thoughts going through our head every day. So that in itself is definitely a distraction. So as in a study of 44% of workers, they found out that they interrupted themselves. So you need a balance when you're talking about interruptions, you know, other people interrupting you. There's a balance between staying informed and teaching what we allow. So if we allow something to happen, and those of us who are mothers and understand this really well, that if we allow it to happen, then they're going to push the envelope a little bit further each time, right? So it's really about respecting the time of others. And if, you know, if we all treated each other's time as well as we wanted them to, you know, treat ours, you know, we would have a whole lot less interruptions, right? Working at home, you know, do you have boundaries involved? So, you know, discouraging just dropping visitors into your office when you're in office. Maybe your office layout. I used to have my office in front of a door, and every time somebody would walk by, my head would pop up. And once I moved my desk to the other side of the room, that when they walk by, it didn't just, you know, didn't interrupt me quite as much. So think about looking at the causes of the interruptions, schedule time for calls, have something when an interruption comes that you can write it down and leave it for later. Don't try and go do it at the time. And then also, if you, we just talked about being organized, but if you, the easiest way for interruptions and to be able to understand them. So somebody else's, you know, priority becomes your priority when you allow it to happen, right? So their urgency becomes now your urgency, or your, you know, they want action now because in their situation, they need it to happen now, even though it's not your priority, right? So if you have only one thing on your desk at a time, so that when you do get an interruption, you can weigh the two. Is this that's on my desk more important than that? Then can we talk at 1 o'clock? You know, we ask somebody, can we set a meeting to talk about it later? But maybe that interruption might be more important. But you can't weigh that if you don't know what's important that you're working on. So it's really important that you know what you're working on during the day. And then interruptions, some interruption tips: have one project on your desk. Being more organized will help. An interruption log, if this is really an area for you, you can email me and I'll send you the interruption log that it's just a spreadsheet, but it does help. It's already created. Respect other people's times and limits, and schedule time for your calls and meetings. Just don't let people come and interrupt you. So really, you know, everybody needs help. Everybody needs something from you. So it's how you're going to handle it that's going to make the difference. So any questions or comments about that? Okay, so I used to have my staff create work from home at work time. Great, that's a great idea, Bernie. Anybody else? What's the biggest mistake you see professional women make? The biggest mistake is that we don't, and it's not just professional women. I think it's the majority of people, the majority of us don't take the time to know what's important for today. What are those top 3 important things? Because when you know what's important for today, and it's not about tomorrow or next week, it's about today, then you can then weigh those interruptions as I was talking about. So great question. So let's talk about taking action. So the DNA of productivity is decision, next action equals improved productivity. Productivity only happens and improves when there is a decision made and then a next action taken. So where we get hung up is we don't make the decision. So a way to make that a little bit faster, either it's a yes or it's no for later. It might be yes later, but if it's not a, yes, then it's probably a no for now. So just making decisions faster will increase your productivity a whole lot. And then knowing what the next action is you need to take after you get done with what you're doing. Identifying your prime time. Some of it's it's in the morning, some of it's for us at the afternoon, and some people are better in the late afternoon or the evening. So know your prime time, when you can focus and when your energy is its best. That's when you want to do the mental task. You want to do those mental tasks that really take up a lot of energy. And then to-do list, if it's, you can't organize it or prioritize it if it's in your head. As I said, all those 60,000, and we try to keep, I got to remember. Get it out of your head, because that's how you can organize it and then prioritize it. Know the next action. When we know what is that next action, you're going to get greater results. And then when does it need to be done and how long is it going to take us? Most of the time we're attempting way too much. So it's 1.5 to 3 times longer than what you think. Think about how many times you said, I'll be ready in 5 minutes, and it's 20 minutes, 30 minutes later, and you're finally there. Our mind cannot tell the difference between a start and stop time, because time is continuous, and that's how our brain thinks. We're overbooking ourselves. Your calendar should not be booked more than 70% of the day on an average, depending on your job, really, but no more than 70 to 80% should your calendar be full. And I'm not delegating enough. For those of us who have staff underneath us, make sure you're delegating. And maybe not time blocking. Make sure you're time blocking. Make sure that things are on your calendar. And that includes, meetings with yourself. Meetings are a big thing and they take up a lot of time. And of course, all these Zoom meetings that we're doing now. But if you're in a situation where you can bring this to attention of, your staff, if you can control it, this is great. If you can suggest somebody else, but think about taking those 1-hour meetings and moving them to 45 minutes. Taking a 15-minute, that saves 15 minutes. 10 people, that's 2.5 hours that the company just saved. So you have to be more precise. You can't let runoffs and things go, a little haywire. Half an hour. See if you can switch it to 20 minutes or 25 minutes. It'll make a big difference. And then how many calendars do you have? You have one life, you need one calendar. Make sure you're blocking off tasks as well as meetings. So if you have a project to work on, you need 45 minutes, it needs to be on your calendar. And it's just a meeting with yourself. And the biggest key with that, don't stand yourself up, because that's what we tend to do. And then any questions about that? I know that we're just checking the time here. I know that we're getting pretty close. So I kind of want to get through the rest of it. Oh, 40, yeah, colleagues of mine is doing only 45 minutes. Yep, makes a big difference. And then continuous evaluation is something we have to, once we, start incorporating some of these things, it's very important us to reevaluate, especially like we're working from home now. We got to reevaluate that and look at that. Can we do things better? So it's about what's working and what's not working. If something's working, that's not the thing we want to look at. And we don't want to, okay, let's make that better. Let's think of the things that are not working and those ones we want to deal with. It might be for some people, especially like when we started working from home, I was having people look at it every day. What are the issues that you're having so that you can then look at what is really going to make the big difference if I change. Are you making decisions? And then are you taking action? So that's going to be huge. So if you'll put in the chat, what will you do differently? Just based on what we talked about today, just before I finish up here, I'd love to hear what you think you would do differently. Okay, yeah, I became so much more productive when I started scheduling phone calls. It makes a big difference. Make multiple phone calls at one time. Deal with your email when you're going to be at your email. Calendar focus you to block it off time. Yes, definitely, definitely. Great. Decide. Block off time. Eliminate when you have time. Mental tasks during my peak time. Great. I plan out my week on Sundays. That's awesome. That's a wonderful tip to do. Calendarly. Yes, that's great. Write top three things that I want to get done every day. Awesome. Using a time agenda versus just an agenda. Awesome. Okay, so be aware of your limiting beliefs. Do you need to get organized? And these are just kind of more questions for you. Are you working in a natural productivity style? Need to reduce your interruptions? Might be a problem. Make quicker decisions or actions, evaluating and reevaluating. So where will you go from here? So information is free, right? Information is everywhere. Inspiration, you can be inspired. Maybe you're inspired today, but problem with inspiration, it doesn't last, right? There's recommendations. I've recommended some things that you can do today. So some of you will act on those and some of you will not, even though you want to, right? So which category are you in there? And it's really about implementation and outcomes. That's where your success comes. So if you want something different, you have to want to do something different. And that's the only way things will be different. So ideas do not generate success. Ideas that you implement are the only ones that generate success. And the last thing is just asking for help. Don't, ask for somebody, be a part of a mastermind, get an accountability partner. Could be a coach. I know you have a life coach already in your group. It could be, a friend, but the must key is you need somebody that's going to hold your feet to the fire, because we tend to not hold our own feet to the fire. So when you take full responsibility of everything in your life and business, amazing things can happen. The problem is that it's hard to implement on our own. So don't be afraid to ask for help. Here are a couple resources, 2 of my books that are available that around productivity habit. One's a journal, one is it's also kind of like a journal thing, but every week it'll give you a process to work on something every week. And then these are some links, and I will try and grab them. I have them here and I will put them in the chat just so that everybody make sure that I am sending them to everyone. So natural productivity style, there's an assessment that you can take. It's something I normally charge for, but I'm going to give it to you guys for free. So, so I just put that in the chat. And then a free strategy session, especially if you're a small business owner and you want to just have a conversation with me, you can book time with me. And then, oh, I didn't mean that one. Let's see. That's now in the chat. And then lastly, if you're having problem from working from home, I have a resource guide that is, it's actually article, it's a workbook. It's not really a workbook, but it's a booklet, is I guess what I would call it, that I did for people when they started working from home. So if you're still struggling with that, then and then there's also some business So those are all in the chat. So those are all free for you to fill in, and I will open it up for any other questions that you might have.
Awesome. Thank you, Kathy. I knew it. Great information. Any questions for Kathy at this time? We do have 2 or 3 minutes left.
There's one question in the chat that says, what tips do you have for managing your email inbox?
Awesome.
Good thing. Okay, so this is and I don't know how much time we have, just a little bit, but I'll tell you a real funny story. I was on the way to, when I started dealing with email and helping people with email, I was on the way to the Lake of the Ozarks with 2 friends, and they were asking me about this new program I, was working on, and I told them, and that I could just feel their temperatures were probably going, and they were gasping for air when I said just delete them, and I thought they were gonna have a heart attack. But really the whole thing is you have to deal with it as it's coming in. So there should be nothing in your inbox, in your email, that's not something that you need to work on. So the easiest way to get caught up on your email is create a folder and mark it old email. Drag everything over that's over 3 weeks old. Okay, or even just, I'll have people just start over there and then they can go look at it. And then you have to process it and use those 4 or 5 questions I told you. Can you just delete it? Can you delegate it, forward it to someone else? Can you just do it, take care of it just at the time? Or does it need to be filed? Just drag it and file it. Or the last one is leave it in your inbox for action. So it's really important to just have a process to deal with it. And the biggest thing about email is deal with it, have time set aside to deal with it. We tend to look at email, oh, I'll work on that later. I'll work on that later. I'll work on that later. And then you have to come back. But just schedule time on your calendar that you're going to actually work on your email, and you'll find that you'll be able to clean a whole lot of things out. And someone had asked, in one of the groups, they talked about perfectionism. So I kind of want to address that. So those of us who are we're all perfectionists in some area of our life. Think about, instead of being perfect, right? Because nobody's perfect. We can always be better, right? Always. So think about being a master. And the difference between a perfectionist and a master is a perfectionist will never get it perfect. A master will always do their very, very best for the day. And their best is going to change depending on what's going on in the day. So do it, and knowing that your 80% is probably somebody else's 100%. But we always want to go over and beyond. So that's one way to look at perfectionism a little bit different. So any other questions?
So we'll extend it for 2 minutes. We have time for one more question if someone has it.
There were so many good ideas today, and I just don't know where to start, Kathy.
And we really didn't have a whole lot of time to go through all of it, but well, good. I'm glad you've got something to go away with. And that's my whole thing, that, and just take one of them and try and implement it, work on it, get it working for you, and then go get something else. Don't try and add 2 or 3 things on at one time. That's when you won't do it.
I think that in and of itself is a great tip, to eat the elephant one bite at a time.
Right.
We all try to shove all of it in our mouth.
Yeah.
So, Kathy.
Susan, do you have a question?
Oh,
Well,
do we have one?
I was just going to say my biggest thing is tools, like a CMR tool, an email, having it all work together. I know there's calendaring, all these different tools. Like, I don't know if it'd be helpful for you to come up with your list of, tools that we can use, not today or right this second, but just something that somebody can implement right away and just start using it all together. Because, when you piecemeal everything together,
you're going in a lot of different directions, and the more you can consolidate, the better off it is. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a great idea. Awesome. Kathy?
Yes.
When your name came up in my mind, I knew. I was like, she is going to give us some great insights to help. And now, how many of you all, by show of hands, have been on any of these before with me where I'm kind of facilitating them? Raise your hands. All right, what do I always show you? My notes.
Notes.
I always have my notes. I've got 2 pages here. I've got stars by things. And, you know, Kathy, I knew I would do the same. I always have my pad here. Thank you, thank you, thank you so much. You know, everyone is running around like a chicken with its head cut off, even if you're just running around your own home nowadays.
Yep.
And so, you know, 1 or 2 really key tips that we could really embrace can make all the difference in the world. And I knew if anyone could help us figure out what those key things needed to be for us, you were the one for the task. So
Well, I'm glad you thought of me, and I do. I've got it on my list to rejoin. So you guys can hand
awesome.
me around.
See, she didn't know I had that in mind, ladies. No. But thank you so much, everyone who joined. I hope you all grabbed at least a couple of really good nuggets from this. Thank you all so much for your continued support. This is our first evening event that we're trying out for the year. We want to try to accommodate some of our younger members who had expressed some concern about being able to come to some of the daytime events. So we want to try to meet the needs of everyone. And so we do have a few other events scheduled throughout the year that will start at the 5:30 time period. So stay in, plugged in for those as well. Don't forget, we've got our virtual training coming up next week. We have our second signature speaker series event after that, that following week. And then a couple of weeks after that, we'll have our March virtual training. So, you know, continue to stay plugged in. We've got a lot of amazing speakers and trainers and presenters coming this year. And we hope that you all will, you know, be that dry sponge and come and soak up everything that they're sharing. So
Can I share one last thing?
absolutely.
Okay, so if you don't know that you can save the chat, so if you didn't grab those links, if you hit the 3 little dots down in the chat box,
Oh, I didn't know
and
that.
then you can hit save the chat.
See, she's full of knowledge. I didn't know that either. Thank you,
A
Kathy.
lot of networking groups have people put their contact information in the chat exactly for that reason, so you can follow up later.
Absolutely. And in
Elizabeth,
case you
save
still
it?
didn't get it, if you are looking to connect with Kathy to get some more great insights, you can go to her website, theproductivityexperts.com. You can email her at Kathy with a C at theproductivityexperts.com as well. So please reach out. And I know she's got, this is just the tip of the iceberg, you know, probably not even the 10%, you know, this is probably 2%. She's got 98% left. So, but again, thank you all, everyone. Have a wonderful evening. The weekend is coming, so happy Friday in advance, and enjoy that and enjoy your weekend too.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you.
Everyone.
Bye. Okay. Woohoo! That was really, really good.
Yeah, I mean, I knew, I'm like, she is just full of just, you know, tips and
Right.
stuff with productivity. And